Hello everyone, welcome back. So hopefully it didn't cause anybody too much grief that I changed the stream time just a little bit. My family's schedule shifted a bit, so my stream has moved back 15 minutes. So anyone who was here 15 minutes early, sorry. I pushed it around a little bit. So, okay. Tonight, I've got a laundry list of stuff that I think I want to do. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay. First and foremost, Microsoft Build, or as I like to call it, Geek Christmas, is coming up. And if you have not registered, I highly recommend registering. Build is always an amazing conference. There's lots of cool stuff happening. For anybody wondering, I think I mentioned this before. There's a few sessions I would recommend, and I will drop links to these. I think if I want to drop that out of the link. Is it? Yeah, good. Okay. Most Microsoft links, you can drop the language out of the URL, and then it'll default to your browser ones. So a couple sessions that I am planning on watching that looked rather exciting to me. Are these two here around tips and tricks with Visual Studio? Like Mads Christensen is amazing. Most of you probably have worked with some of the extensions that he's built because he has a ton of them that are absolutely amazing. So of anybody who's going to know the ins and outs of Visual Studio, it's somebody who's constantly building stuff for it. So that one definitely excites me. And then always a good one. I enjoy listening to Mads and Dustin go back and forth talking about C#. Mads is on the language design team. Dustin, I'm trying to remember. I believe he's still on the language design team, but I thought he shifted roles a little bit. I don't recall. The important part is these two feed off each other really well, and their presentations are always very entertaining as they kind of walk through and show everything that they're thinking about. It's worth noting they are going to be talking about what's new in C# 12. For those of you who think that you've missed the boat, don't worry. C# 12 isn't released. It's not due until November. So some of this is going to be thinkings on what C# 12 might have. At one point in time, I remember hearing somebody on the language team say that they have deep-seated commitment issues of they will never guarantee a feature is shipping until it ships. So it's great to go in and get excited. It's cool to see what they're thinking about. Don't get too attached until the feature's actually shipped, though, for what it's worth. Okay, and then last week, kind of midstream, I noticed that the Community Toolkit MVVM library dropped their 8.2 release, and I was very excited because all I saw was on NuGet that the package was like 3 hours old or something. I was like, oh, this is amazing. I was like, this is going to be great for another stream. And then I went and read the release notes and went, this is probably not a stream's worth. There's only a handful of things in here. Short version of what's in 8.2. There is a ton of work that was around like analyzers and source generators and performance. So short version, it worked more better and more faster. So there's that. Some of the cool things that are actually in here though, and a lot of these are just kind of quality of life, and most people probably aren't running into these situations, but it's good to know about them. So for example, relay command now allows you to decorate the generated properties. So for those people who are unaware, let me make that a little bigger. Boom, boom, boom. With the MVVM toolkit, inside of your view model, you just write a method, in this case, do work. Actually, I should have, I want to be able to draw arrows. Hang on one second. There we go. Aha. Right? So you just write a method, and then with the toolkit, what you end up doing is is it 3? Nope. 4? I can't remember my own commands. How do I get out? Now I'm stuck. Stuck. There we go. Okay, that was... Where'd my mouse go? I've lost my cursor. See, here's the funny part. I see my cursor on the stream, I don't see it on anything here, which is mildly terrifying that I've lost control of my own cursor. Okay, stand by. I gotta get myself back out of this task list. That's what I get for wanting to draw pictures. Let's see. Task kill by name. Luma.exe. There's my cursor. Okay. So I don't know what I typed. I don't know how I got into that. That was bad. Let's not do that again. Okay. Draw. Control 2. That's what I thought I pressed. There. See? Okay. Yeesh. I don't know what I did. Okay. So, let's see. We'll make this bigger. So, back to where we were. In your view models with the MVVM toolkit, you just write a method, and then rather than doing the relay command stuff and building up the command and all that jazz, which is typing, you just slap relay command attribute on top of the method. And as long as your view model is partial, the source generator takes over and says, I got you, let me go and gen up all of the fields and the properties needed to have a command property. In this case, it would be the property we would call do work command. Now, it generates a command property so that you can bind that command to, say, a button or whatever that you might be using it on. The problem being is if you're doing something like, say, serializing your view model with system.text.json, you might want to put an attribute on top of that property so that it doesn't get serialized. Well, the problem is because it's generated, there's no easy way to attach a property to that. So now what they've done is they will allow you to set properties like this, and the source generator will look for those and promptly place those on top of the property that it generates as well. The important thing to remember is with attributes, you can actually specify this specifier. I'm trying to remember the right term for this, the word in front of it. Scope, something, for your attribute. Most people intrinsically know that this exists if you made like assembly level attributes, because assembly is an option that you can do. But in this case, you can slap on field or property, and then the items that the source generator is going to create for you, it'll attach those attributes to them as well. Great, perfect. I don't think a lot of people are running into this, but it's probably really annoying for the people who are. Wonderful. Okay, so new fancy stuff. Now this property ends up here. Huzzah, away we go. Yeah, there's the do work command property. Thing is on the property, etc., etc., etc. So not a big deal. There's actually, I believe there's a typo in here. So the observable property, this is how you make an observable property with the toolkit. Once again, you declare a field, you slap an attribute on it, and you're done. That's it, no thinking. Behind the scenes, the source generator then goes, I got you, and generates out this whole mess in a partial class so that you don't have to think about it, because that's really nice. The thing with generating it into a partial is sometimes you might want to hook in to what it's doing, and so they have these partial methods. Partial methods that are void returning will do nothing unless you actually implement them inside of your view model. Perfect. They've added a couple additional ones here. And I believe these on name changing and on name changed is a typo. I sent a message to Sergio earlier saying, hey, I'm pretty sure these are supposed to be on selected document changing and on selected document changed up here. I think it's just a typo. But short version is before there used to only be one of these. Now there's an extra one so that they have additional overloads for single parameter, dual parameter. And you can see the order that things go. It's nothing fancy. It's just additional partial methods. And at the end of the day, if you don't implement them, the compiler is going to drop them anyway. So, great. Cool. So more lifetime hooks, that kind of thing. The key change here is this old value overload that's now added in. So, for example, sometimes you might want to say, oh, like in the case of, maybe that you've got an is selected property, being able to get that old value coming in on changing is typically very worthwhile. The thing to note as well, these are both being invoked inside of the equality compare check. So this is only going to be invoked when your property is actually changing, which is probably what you want most of the time, but it's important to know exactly what that lifetime is. And then down here, we're just going to get into a whole bunch of analyzer stuff. I don't really feel like I need to cover this because if you run into it, the analyzer will tell you, and the analyzer will flag you, and it will yell at you, which is good, as it should be. So simple things that don't reference the backing field, go through the property, huzzah. And then source generators going more faster, yay. And then there's a lot of just kind of smaller bug fixes and various things that people might be interested in. This one here was actually the most interesting to me, the dropping of system.link. So there's been a lot of work going into various Microsoft libraries for to make them trim friendly, specifically so that native AOT can trigger on it. Because with ahead of time compilation and trimming, the idea is that it looks at everything that you're invoking and then drops everything else. So you can take a big app and shrink it down really small. For anybody on WPF, don't get excited. You can't use this. So the big issue is, in order for that type of compilation to work, it's hard for it to detect a lot of reflection cases. And unfortunately, WPF is littered with that stuff. So you can turn it on, you're just going to have a lot of problems and your app's not going to work correctly. It's probably going to crash in a lot of cases with method missings and whatnot. So don't do that in WPF. However, if you're using this in some other library or whatnot, go for it. Like some of the trimming stuff to shrink your binary sizes, it's pretty nice. But again, a lot of these are kind of really small things that things won't matter. They did go through and add XML docs over their generated stuff, which is pretty cool. So now when you're interacting with the generated stuff, that's much better. Really, I just want Visual Studio to be smarter about generated content, because source generators are getting more prevalent and the tooling needs to catch up a little bit. I was working on building a source generator earlier today and was a little annoyed that some stuff in Visual Studio wasn't updating and I had to cycle Visual Studio to see the updated stuff. Kind of a bit of a pain. Big deal? No, but So, short version, MVVM Toolkit 8.2 dropped. For the vast majority of people, you can rev the NuGet package with impunity. All of this is basically new stuff with very little things that should cause you any breakages. Rev the package, go to 8.2, have fun, enjoy stuff. My .NET templates are already updated to it. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. Yeah. Okay, there's that. Now, next up. So there was this bug filed on the material design project that I wanted to take a look at because I was a little confused. So this comes in and points out that there was a binding problem with validation, and specifically calls out where I had done this on stream, where I was working on fixing binding leaks, and I had walked people through detecting those and getting those cleaned up, which is great. It's good to clean up your binding leaks. Binding leaks. Hang on, I need Mountain Dew. I can't talk. There we go. Okay. So a little bit of back and forth. The thing that got me when I was looking at this is, so you'll note here, this was specifically looking at the validation template, and actually, you know what? Hang on, I'm going to edit this. The thing picked up the quote as part of the URL, which is what's breaking it. There we go. Make it open. There we are. Okay, so this was looking at the validation template that's built into the library. We can go a little bigger. And then specifically calling out a few of these bindings here. Now, the one that surprised me the most is this current item air content and this idea that air content was causing the problem. Now, I kind of suspect, I have a hunch I know what's doing this, but I asked for some follow-up to go ahead and confirm. Because the important thing to note is when we're binding to the air content, the actual object under the hood that we're binding to is this validation air class. So, and anybody who wants to follow here, I'll just link for anybody who wants to follow along at home. There's the link, issue 3176. And the binding air specifically occurs when you try to do a data binding to something that doesn't implement iNotify property changed. Now, the fact that this property itself doesn't raise property changed isn't really an issue. The issue is that validation error doesn't implement the iNotify property changed interface. So what ends up happening is the binding engine has to wrap this thing up so that it has some idea of when it's changed. Now, the easy fix to clean up that link is to just set everything to one time. Because then the binding engine knows that it doesn't care about property changes. It binds once, it gets the value, just read the property, call it a day, everyone's happy, right? And so the question was, well, hang on, why is it designed this way? Because now when I update validation, I don't see changes. And the question I raised was, well, hang on, how are you changing validation without getting a new validation error instance? Because my expectation is when doing validation, when validation happens, you should be getting a new validation error instance, which means it doesn't matter that the binding was one time, the whole object under the hood is going to be replaced. That's the working theory. So asked for some feedback. Red posted a link to a repo, which I have downloaded and I have opened here. So we're going to take a look. I haven't actually looked at this repo to see what it does. You know, as per usual, I briefly scan them so that I make sure that the code isn't going to like try to hose my system or something weird before I run it. But yeah, so there is all of this stuff in here, and we're going to take a quick look at what is going on. So I do note that it's using Prism, which isn't a bad idea. Prism is a nice library. I got to meet one of the authors at the MVP Summit, which was awesome. Okay, so let's binding mode one way. How do I click me? Oh, interesting. Okay, so click me, not contain space. Okay, so let's go take, so I just want to let's quickly glance at the XAML just to make sure this lines up with what we expect. So we got a grid, 2 columns, not surprising. Okay, column 0, text block, binding mode one way, text box, binding. This is a binding mode two-way, notify on value errors. Okay, so the fact that this is notify on validation errors makes me strongly suspect that our view model is going to implement iNotify error info. Let's see, and then this comes in here, binding mode one way. So this one is using the default error template because it's not being specified. And then this one here is using a different error template, which I assume is a copy and paste. Yeah, this looks very copy and pasty of the original one. But I believe, yeah, so things like this indentation being off strongly indicate a copy and paste. But what I would expect to see is one way this error content gets updated. So, okay, well, that's kind of what I was hoping to ascertain. So that is the setup. Sorry, I can't resist. I have to fix indentation. I must fix it. I must fix it. Okay, so I don't really want to check this line by line, but I'm going to make a sweeping assumption that this is basically the exact same air template with the modes changed to one way. And that looks pretty close to right. It looks very close to right. Okay, so if we come in here to the view model, when we click the button, so here's our show command. What exactly are you doing? Okay, one-time view model. What are these view models? User view model, validation base. So let's take a little look at this. Validation base. Okay, there's your iNotify error info. This looks like something. I've seen this. Can't tell if this is based upon my validation thing or not. So bindable base is the Prism bindable base. Great. Set property, so it overrides the base, adds a little validate call in. Not a big deal. Validate, I assume, raises the event. Validate always blindly raises the event. Try validate property, errors. And so I'm wondering here, does this guy give me a... I don't think this guy gives me anything fancy. Has errors. Love the property pattern match there. That's slick. Errors any, errors changed. Get errors. So the errors in question here are really just strings. Though it's interesting to me that so hold on. Try get value. If try get value returns true, we're going to do a new list of a single element. This is a little wasteful. The thing is when you do new list under the hood, here, I'll just show that real quick. You'll note it goes through. Yeah, so, default capacity 4. Interesting. Okay, that's a little better. Why are errors being converted from enumerable to list? I think you mean from list to enumerable. So this signature here is part of the iNotify error info interface, which is not... This is one of the built-in ones. It's the common way of being able to do validation when you need to have things that are asynchronous. If everything's going to be synchronous, there's like binding validation that you can do in line. But anytime you need to do complex level validation of any kind, this is pretty much the interface that you end up implementing. I mean, this works. There's... My gut reaction would be to do this instead, and let it be a new string array of length 1, but whatever. That's not a bug. It's just a little extra allocation, because this will end up doing new list and then calling list.add with this value here. So validation results. So it creates a new validation context, which is fine. Try validate property, which makes sense. Feeds in the results. And then if try validate property returns false, takes the results, pulls all these things out, shoves them into a list. I don't think you need the bang there. To list is guaranteed. Wait. Huh? No, you're telling me to list might be nullable? Oh, it's because error message is nullable. Haha. That's a cleaner approach. Or do like a where on it to make sure you don't get empty things. That was weird. I'm actually surprised that the bang on toList shuts it up. That's surprising. I didn't realize you could use the null forgiveness operator to tell it that you didn't care about conversion failures. Because that's really what it's squawking about, is that list of string is not the same as... so list of string is not the same as list of nullable string. I learned something new. Because you could also do that and tell it that this nullable string is not actually null. But either way, also not a bug, and I'm still trying to figure out how we're getting different validations. Okay, so let's fire this up, and I want to take a look at it in Snoop. Let's take a little look-see at this in Snoop. So we're gonna do this maneuver. Put you off to the side, put you off to the side. And then let's go ahead and do click me. So does not contain its space 412. So where is the actual validation on here? So this one here, set model username 1 space 2. So this name just doesn't append. Does a task.delay, so it's literally just artificially slowing things down so you can see it typing. Great, nothing fancy. Exclude space attribute. So this guy here is a custom validation attribute that I'm guessing is applied on top of the user view model. Exclude spaces, and then the not contain a space, and then the length is expected between 4 and 12. So every time this guy changes, this should trigger, because this set property should go into here, does this, validates the property, does the validation, raises the errors changed, and then so let's see, it raises errors changed, but it doesn't, 1 second. Wrong button, wrong button, wrong button. Wrong button, wrong button, wrong button. Okay. So it's going to raise errors changed on both, but that strongly implies that the validation object instance is identical between these. So let's see if we can grab it. So the first thing to be aware of is you'll note that I am up here at this validation error element. Hey, Justin Bieber, how we doing? So what is the data context here? This is a read-only observable collection of validation error. And it only contains one thing. This guy is also the same thing, but the difference being that the one item here contains two things. Now, does this one item contain two things if I look at it? It does. So that's interesting. So error context is being updated on the fly. It's being updated on the fly, but waiting for Microsoft build confidence. Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. I should put these in here on 1 second. I'm gonna put these in a little clipboard thing for me real quick. Let's see. I don't know if you were on earlier, but I popped a list of sessions that looked interesting to me. And so if people are interested, let me Oh, one other quick comment for anybody who may follow my YouTube. I apologize. Sometime in April, my YouTube automation decided it was going, or I should say, my automation started failing. And I didn't notice. And so my YouTube videos are a little behind the Twitch streams. I did get the automation fixed the other night, and it is now chugging through videos, and I will get the stuff posted. But if people are interested, there's the list of sessions again. That those are some interesting ones that I'm looking forward to. I'll put it that way. Okay, so what I am interested in understanding then, because I clearly don't understand it. This validation error context is being set somewhere, and it's like it's being reused. So can I just search for error context? I would really love to hunt usages. Let's see, how do I do this? Don't you have a find references to things? You don't. Okay. GitHub WPF. The good part about open source is I will find you. Ooh, that's not it. I would like to find the error content. And I can't imagine there are that many usages. Okay, so specifically, I am looking to know where the heck you get assigned. And under which situations might the same, because clearly what's happening is that guy is the value is being changed. And I don't know where. Good choice. Consider that most of the concerts is about clouds and the average user does not need them. So there's that. So this one can't be it because that would be a constructor in a new instance. Okay, so we can eliminate all of that garbage. Eliminate all of that garbage. So it's going to be an error content. I'm curious to go look at this one. We'll go see it here in a second. So that's a possibility. That's a possibility. That's inside the validation error. I mean, update. Oh, that one screams problem to me. That one screams problem to me. Update validation error. It took me until the other day to realize the source generator for source.net, which is just the greatest name ever, doesn't actually live under a Microsoft repo. I'm not sure what you mean. It's generated from a bunch of different repos, but it actually predates Microsoft open sourcing a bunch, like, or I should say, the thing it's based on. So there's actually reference source.microsoft.com, which is, so source.net is the source for things that are like what people would say .NET Core, or what is now just .NET. But in ye olde .NET Framework days, this used to be one of the primary ways of searching the BCL for stuff. So if you do need the same thing, but for the BCL, reference source. Okay, so I'm going to go with this guy here is likely my culprit. Because one of you, hang on, come on, collapse. You really just hate me. Okay, whatever. So update validation error. So validation error comes in, old error, set value. I'm curious how it would Okay, so validate. So this is what's going to come in here. Get validation error, so it pulls this guy out. Not error, data validation rule instance. Okay, validation rules, rips through them. Validation step calls validate. Validation result, validation's valid. Does some tracing stuff, don't care. Then it calls update validation error. Does not clear I needs update flag. Boy, that just screams something I don't want to know about. This guy here then creates a new validation error instance, error context, comes into here with the validation error, pulls the old one off, calls set value for validation error. Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Huh. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing. That's getting a star. For anyone who doesn't know, Kirill, I come across this. He has a lot of really, really great repositories. So if you ever just want to peruse somebody's for some cool repositories, that's a good one. That is a good one. Okay, so let's check these other ones here real quick before we get too carried away. So this is inside of validate on data See, this is a binding. This is not it. This is also a binding expression. But this is just run validation rule. Update validation error. I have a feeling all of this is going to lead me back into the same place. This is totally just going to lead me back into the same place. So, okay. Validation error is not null. Add validation error. I'm just surprised because it looked like it was getting a new instance. Validation, add validation error, notify on validation error. Why would that not trigger the same time? Target, notify on validation errors. Okay. I mean, I don't see why. Let's see. I think that's down here, isn't it? Validation. Can I? You're not going to be nice and let me do it. What's the namespace for validation? Isn't it? Is it data? No. What is? Go back here and look. I don't remember what. Validation. without cap locks. Validation. System Windows controls. System Windows controls. Validation. Add, no, that was add air handler. Jump, go back. Said go back. No, not that far back. Now go forward. Add validation error. Okay, so there's the validation error that comes in. Validation errors is null, which isn't the case. It creates a new collection and adds it. Else, if validation errors is set, which it should be, was valid is false, because count will be equal to 1, not 0. Because the interesting part is this isn't... It's the same validation error instance. Right? Yeah, I've got the same validation error instance with different content. Huh? Huh? Let's do get hash code. You invoke 5088366. Okay. So now if I go over here and look at this one, are you the same one? No. So each of those got their own instance. So there's not sharing across there. Should raise event. What triggers should raise event? It's the bool that's passed in. Okay. Let's back up then. To should raise event. That's what I want to see. Is let's chase the bunny rabbit again. Add validation error. What do you do? Add validation error. Notify on validation error. That's what triggers the event. And I think that is set to true in this code. Notify on validation error is set to true. That should be firing. That should be firing. Okay, so if we chase this all the way back. Let's see, I think we go here. On validation error should be firing, which should raise the event. Raise event args, validation error event args. Okay. So can I just want to see this test. Let's come in here. I want to figure out how this is working. Test. Huh? Can I not spell? Oh, it's probably because I'm debugging and that no worky. It is raising an event. Validation error. But there is Wait, what? Is that, huh? No. What is the event handler? You should go remove one of the extra blank lines for them on line 44. What is the, hang on. For routed event. I don't remember the signature for this. Create a routed event. Yeah. Routed event. I just want to, what is the API? There's a static class for registering. Oh, add handler. Thank you. Test add handler. And I would like, let's see. It was the errors event, right? Error event. Yes, validation error event is the magical one I'd like to register for. Thank you, Copilot. Would you like to write the rest of the code for me, please? While you're at it, you want to do that? Thanks. You've been a lovely audience. Okay. Okay, so I want to catch this here, and I want to see what happens. Huh? Oh. Turns out if you leave random code in there, it doesn't compile. Okay, so there's that. Error, validation error, error context. Okay, so we got what we expect. We got it again. Okay, so the event is raising. Oh, it's interesting that it went. It's interesting that I got it a third time. How is that? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Hang on, something's. Let's relaunch the whole app. One, 2, 3. That's interesting. That something seems off about that. Something seems a little off. Something's fishy. Okay, so we're gonna catch this one more time. So call stack on errors changed username. Okay, great. This is not exactly shocking. We look here, we're all the way up here at appending the 1. Great. Does not contain a space. Call stack. Not shocking. We're probably back up where we expected. Okay. We might double check that real quick. Okay. And then here, this one is interesting to me. Where the heck did we come from? Interesting. So we trigger on errors change twice. And the third one comes through. That something's fishy there. Something is fishy there. Okay, so in an effort to make this debugging not miserable, we are going to go with this and this. That way we're only chasing one half of this. I don't want to be chasing extra stuff when I go into the base classes. Okay, so this has no references. I don't care. Clear errors has no references. I don't care. Remove error might be interesting. Add error might be interesting. But I don't think we're hitting any of those. I think we're literally just falling through here. And then I'd like to pick this up. Okay, let's try this again. Because the fact that I'm getting those things in that order surprises me. Okay, errors for name just has the one string. On errors changed. If we check our call stack, probably nothing shocking. Right, we appended the one. Great. Okay, that bubbled up all the way to there. Not surprising. Okay, we come in here. Errors for name is going to include the same thing. Get errors. So why are we here? We're adding the space, which is causing it to re-query the errors, which is interesting. Okay. Now the errors for name contains 2. Because now we've gotten past the original set property and we're down to validate. Property name. Value is 1 space. Okay. This raises it with 2. This additional validation error confuses me. Why is this triggering a second time? From a singles errors changed invocation. On air event. Oh, the action is probably different here. Let's pin that. That's probably the kicker, is it's probably saying I added this and I removed that. Because this is an observable collection. So this calls back in. It asks for 2. Great. Call stack here. Okay. Calls back in. And it passes that through. Okay, so let's go back and look at this. Because this is a validation error template. One of these guys is... Because there is only a single validation error. It's just being joined together with multiple strings. That's interesting. I'm curious then. Let's go back and put the other one back. I am curious if we changed these back to one time. Because I'm wondering if... Because current item has to be changing, right? We'll have to check, because this is... Just looking. Both of these... Air content. Where's the content presenter? I'm not actually sure this data template gets consumed. Where's this one getting consumed? Because this is just a data resource. It may legitimately be just these two. If I do that, let's see, breakpoints, disable all, let it ride. Yeah, so that... Ba ba ba. This guy here, it's guaranteed. What's bothering me is I still have yet to see. You know what I should look at? I should look at this. Does this guy here, when he's building up the validation results, get validation errors, error validation results? Show me your code. This is a new list that's being returned. But where's this validation error? Try validate. You come from the out parameter. You come from the out parameter. If validation result not equal to success, it creates a brand new validation error. Like, this is what's bothering me, is these are all new instances. If these are all new instances, then why... Yeah, let's confirm that real quick. Let's confirm that real quick. Oh. Oh, it probably just updated because I changed the binding back. Yeah. Okay. So on this view model, I want to validate that that between binding errors 1 and 2, we get different instances. Can I just breakpoint it? That's going to pause the app, though. I think that's okay. Let's restart. I think I can do that in a pause, because I'd like to validate the validation error instance. Breakpoints, disable. I'd like to validate that the errors instances are huh? Oh, I disabled all breakpoints. It turns out if you disable all breakpoints, it disables all breakpoints. Okay, so give me that. Now, I don't think... How can I do this here? I think what I can do is await, task, delay. Let's do something like a minute. It gives me a minute to get everything done that I want. Oh, I actually don't want it there. I want it there. Let's do it one more time. Okay, so we're going to attach you first. So what does Snoop give you extra while debugging? I know you love it, but I haven't used it much. So great question. So it gives me a way to snoop the app. Is that too tongue-in-cheek? So a couple things. It lets you investigate the visual tree of the WPF app. So this here is a view of the visual tree. It shows you all the properties. This is very much in line with the built-in Visual Studio live visual tree control that they have. The big difference is this guy lets you muck with a lot more stuff, whereas the one in the Visual Studio tools, a lot of times it's read-only, depending on the type of property. Snoop is a lot more giving in terms of what it lets you play with. The other thing that it lets you do is it lets you start playing around with things like your data context. It lets you watch events that bubble up through the visual tree, which is not something that you get inside of Visual Studio. The thing that we're about to use is it also allows you to invoke methods. Like, for example, I want to invoke get hash code on the validation error object that's inside of this control. The Visual Studio tooling just doesn't have any of that built in. And if you want to go all kinds of crazy mode, it has built-in PowerShell. So that's kind of cool too. So you can start to have quite a bit of fun in terms of tracking stuff down. It also has a bunch of this type of stuff where it's it'll give you nice performance and diagnostics on top of it, which is pretty cool. Let's see. So is it more useful with UI apps like WPF, or is it also applicable to console apps? No, this is Snoop is very much specific to WPF. And the way it ends up actually working is really kind of clever. So when you so we'll walk through this real quick. So when you drag this crosshair over the target app that you want, it's already kind of cool in that it's tracking your cursor, finding the window under your cursor, and then looking up the process for that window. That's what you see with that 15228 on the very end of it. Once it has the process, what it actually does is it spawns a thread inside of that process. That spawned thread then calls back into the Snoop DLLs to fire to create a window inside of this process's memory space and starts another WPF window. That's the reason that down in my taskbar here, it shows both windows as belonging to the same process. I realize you can't see my taskbar. Trust me, they're overlapping buttons just like they were the same app. It's also why the Snoop window oftentimes can like ride on top of your app and various other things, is because it's actually running this window inside of the memory space of this app. And once it's inside of the memory space of the app, it can do anything the code inside of that app could do, which is pretty much anything you want. So it spins this up. It's got a brand new WPF window because because this window here is a WPF window. It does require that the hosting process like have WPF's runtime available to it. Otherwise, it can't spin this window up. So it is very much WPF app specific, but it is so slick. Now, a lot of people really like the Visual Studio tools, and the one thing the Visual Studio tooling has over Snoop is because Visual Studio has a concept of both your running app and your code. It can do things like, in this case, when I'm looking at the visual tree, I have to then go figure out what source code file that stuff is in. The Visual Studio tooling will give you a little button right along the side that says, oh, take me to this file in my project. That's a pretty nice button. Like it has, I think they call it view source, if I remember correctly. So because Visual Studio has more context, it can have some extra things like going to navigating source that Snoop will never be able to have, because Snoop doesn't know anything about your source code. Snoop couldn't care less. It's just focused on the running process. That's also why you can do really crazy things like grab this little arrow, drag it right over Visual Studio. And by the way, I'm now snooping Visual Studio. So that's exciting because large portions of Visual Studio are also written in WPF, which means now I can go into like the Visual Studio main window and start snooping things. And this is a great way to crash Visual Studio. It's also how whenever I've run into bugs where like the text cropping on a window isn't quite right. Let's see. Hang on. Is this one about Visual Studio? Did they fix this one? They fixed this one. There was various ones here where they had hard-coded sizes for their text boxes. Oh, here's one. I know where one is that they refused to fix. They marked it as won't fix, and it annoys me. So this one bothers me a great deal. And I wrote up a bug at one point and said, please fix. And I got back won't fix as the reply. So specifically, where'd my window go? There. Okay, so what bothers me about the settings on this options window, dang nabbit, stop it, give me back my window, is these checkboxes are not aligned with their text. It's really annoying to me. And the reason they aren't aligned is because that's the default template in WPF. It's really, really bloody annoying. But I can come in here and I can pick on it. And that's not the right window. I want the WPF, this one here. So you can see I can grab the checkbox and I can come in here and I can go vertical content alignment rather than top, right? I can do that. And look, the text, the little checkbox is now in line with the content. It's that hard. That hard. I wrote up a bug. I even went to the effort of calling out what assembly this was in. And I was told low priority won't fix. Dang it. Because apparently checkboxes being top aligned versus center is a low priority. So for now, one of my checkboxes will make me happy. The rest of them will make me unhappy. Until I restart Visual Studio and then it goes away. Because it's just editing in the memory space. So it's also why, yeah, and to be clear, it may not be as simple as a 5-minute fix. Because the only way I can do this is looking at decompiled source. It's very plausible that maybe there's a shared style and that would have extra ramifications for other areas and blah, 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 blah. So it's potentially rather difficult. Is there a way to create a custom tool to modify the UI Visual Studio? There's probably a way to get into there, but like the extensions API isn't designed to let you mutate the existing controls that are in there. If I was highly motivated, I might consider doing something like dropping in and just editing the assembly in place, but ugh. Let's see. Sorry to interrupt, but I just remembered Scott Hansman's list of productivity tools that might come in handy. Oh, that is a good list. I have seen that before. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Let's see here. Yes. A few things, because I've pulled a lot of my tools straight off of here before myself. Power Toys, this is one I need to, like, they should be built into Windows. I agree. There's a lot of really good stuff in there, so if you haven't done it, I have not reinstalled them on this machine, but it's definitely worth doing. The Cascadia code, I put on everything. Zoom It, I love. Wingit, this one is awesome. So this is not quite chocolatey, because Wingit is sort of like your app. They're billing it as like AppGet for Windows, I think is the idea of what they're trying to call it. But it will pick up things that you didn't install with Wingit before, because it'll just walk through your installed apps. There's a lot of cool stuff with Wingit that is coming. So if you don't have it, check it out. It is definitely worth looking at and playing with. And then Zoom It, aside from my little fiasco at the beginning of my stream, I definitely love very, very much. Yeah, a lot of these are also built in. The NuGet Package Explorer, I definitely download and install because I like the desktop app. But they do actually have a fully web-based version of it, just straight off of NuGet.org that you like when you're clicking the links, you can drop in. Yeah, the PowerToys stuff for being able to find which process has a file locked or a file handle open is gold. I remember using things like Process Explorer and still occasionally drop back to that every so often to go through and play with it. GitHub Desktop, get cracking. Anyway, we'll just leave that one there and go with that. But again, my strong opinion is that developers should know how to use Git and use Git well. You should pick a tool for Git and learn it to be very effective in it. And if you ask me my opinion, I will tell you Git Kraken is the right choice. I'm trying to think of what else. Auto Hotkey Love, 7-Zip and Paint.net are amazing programs. Paint.net, there are some extensions that you can plug into it as well, because I often pull in one for doing like ICO files and I believe SVGs. The extensions for it are a little shaky. There's not a great thing. You almost have to pull them off of the user blog, and so they can fall out and not be as well. Fiddler I use all the time. Specifically, I think they renamed it Fiddler Classic because Telerik bought them and did like a one Fiddler for all the platforms, which is not bad and it's great, but I've always loved the classic Fiddler. I think, do I have it? Yeah. Hey. I have the book. A very, very old book. I remember getting this. Eric Lawrence, the original author. This was before he sold it to Telerik. He wrote this book. And it is filled, like, I still have highlighted lines inside of the book. This book is gold. And Fiddler Classic hasn't really changed that much since this book was written, so it's still relatively valid. Yeah, love Fiddler for any sort of HTTP sniffing or debugging, because sometimes you just want to see how it goes. Some of these I need to go back and look at. VLC, like, it's great, but I do enough FFmpeg stuff. I'll usually just drop down into FFmpeg directly and do it that way. And I'm wondering, do they have... Yeah, I don't think he's updated this in a little while. Does it have a last updated date? 2021. I'm surprised he doesn't have on the Visual Studio extensions the one for notebooks, because that's one I would add into it. It's now called Polyglot Notebooks, but in 2021 I think it would have been called .NET Interactive Notebooks, if I remember right. It is amazing and wonderful, and if people haven't seen it, hang on, aka.ms.build, so you can see I've been here before. I think there's a session, explore sessions, hang on. I think there's a session on it. This is not what I'm looking for. I will look. I could have sworn there was a session on doing the notebook stuff at Build, but maybe I'm wrong. Because that would be one I would add into this list as well. Hexstump is like one of my go-to ones that I always put in. I love how GitLens made the VS Code extension list, but Git Kraken didn't. For those unaware, Git Kraken owns GitLens now, so yeah. Okay, sorry. Distracted. Distracted. Okay. Back here. So what we want to do here is I would like to grab the air info or the validation object, and I would like to look at its hash code before it changes on me. So we're going to go there, grab here, get into here, methods. Oh, this is on the text block, change targets, validation errors. What? Cancel. This is on the text block. Oh, data context. Change targets. I want to be here. Okay. Validation error. Invoke. Okay. 3043. Or 343. I can't talk either. Okay, so this guy is still fine. Still fine. Now at some point, this thing's gonna change. In about a minute. Okay, there. He changed. And now I want to pick this up again. Reopen. Okay, so you'll note the data under the hood has changed. Now, I would like to know, are you okay, so I want to know, are you the same instance? It's not the same instance. What the heck? He's not the same instance. He's not the same. This is what's bothering me. Is somehow we have a binding. This is a read-only observable collection, right? Read-only observable collection pointed at, and it's a generic of type validation error. Somehow, the instance in the collection is changed. The collection changed event is firing because we're able to catch it up here, right? The collection changed is firing, but the validation error template is not updating. What the heck? Why? Huh? Now, the easy answer is I just changed the things off of one time to one way, right? Like that is the easy answer. Error content is bound one time, causing a binding leak. Like this is the problem. This was what was attempted to be fixed. Routed, what? That's interesting to me. 152 times, huh? So freezing the brushes, freezing the local brushes. Yeah, don't use shared resources, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so all those are fine, but this binding link, like this was functionally what we were trying to fix. And putting this back breaks that. You know, I wonder, because this is going current item air context. Current item so this is, put you over here for a second, because there's your placeholder for your adorned element. Default air viewer is here. Current item air context. Current item. Let's look at the text property here. Yep. Text. You have to spell text with an X. Binding path. Current item. What's interesting to me is that current item isn't the... I'm a little confused how current item works, because current item isn't on the data content. I kind of want to go look at this read-only observable collection. Let's go look at that guy real quick. What is read-only observable collection of whatever? Stop it. Go away. Yeah, sure, fine. Great. Copilot, you're awesome. Do your thing. Or don't. That's fine. Object. I don't care. I just need an anchor. Stop helping me. I just need an anchor for my F12. That's all I want. Give me in. And F12 appears to be broken. I'm going to restart Visual Studio. Save. Yeah, let's go here. I am very confused as to how this validation is working. Okay, so show me where that property is. Because you don't have a current item, right? No, you don't have it. So at least not directly. So read-only collection would be the next one. And you don't have a current item. Where the heck does current item come from? I'm really confused where current item is coming from. Let's fire this guy up again. Because current item... Yeah, I am just very confused. Do that. While you figure yourself out, I'll get Snoop going. Okay, so I'm here. Data context is a read-only observable collection. So where current item clearly binds to something. How? What? Current item. Um, let's do a real quick hunt in the WPF repo. Where is current item coming from? There can't be that many things synchronized with current item. Right, if there was, oh, is it a collection view? Oh, there might be a oh, I bet you there's a collection view in here. Oh, that's where it's coming from. There's probably a collection view on this guy. I bet you there is a collection view over the top of this. Okay, so that doesn't solve anything per se. Especially since this thing is not lined up. So current item. I'm just wondering if can I do something like snoop. I would love to grab the collection view for that. I would love to grab the collection view for that and then change it. Let's see here. Did PowerShell thing get dropped? Oh yeah, Snoop, because it's recursive. Snoop has a hotkey for automatically snooping itself. Because that's just awesome. I thought there was a PowerShell option in here, but maybe that got dropped at one point. How can I get the ability to check the collection view source for this guy? So let's just think out loud for a moment. Blah, 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 blah. So collection, what is it? Collection source, collection view source, get default view. This is kind of what I suspect is going on here. Let's see, validation, get errors, test, right? So this will give me the collection, var collection. This should get me the default view for the collection. Var collection view. About var view. And so that gets me into there. Okay, so that gets me in. That gets me in. That sets it. What I am interested in knowing then is collection change not firing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That the collection views collection change wouldn't fire. Okay. Let's do this up here. Breakpoint. Oh, stop. Okay, so you're unhappy. I get it. Oh, I probably should have. Well, the thing didn't throw a null ref, so it's clearly not null. So click. Okay. Error event. Interesting. The collection view doesn't so that might be the issue. So if we change this, to not go through the collection view and instead do something like, I think we can get away with that. I don't actually recall. Let's try. Because that would be convenient if we could do that. I probably should have gotten rid of the task delay. Delete breakpoint. Let's just kill off this task delay here for the moment. But I think that might actually be the solution. Assuming it works. Nope, that doesn't work. Because what we really want to do is kick this thing in gear every time collection change fires. And I think that is... because I do think the issue is our template here. I think everything was working. So the actual problem here is both of these text boxes are set up with data validation. The only difference between the text boxes is this guy here, the one on the left. So you'll note they're both bound to this username property. They have these view models are different instances of the same class. So the view models are identical. They're both bound two-way, which, great. Technically, this mode is superfluous because the text property defaults to two-way anyway, but whatever. The source triggers property change, so every time the properties changes, it's going to automatically kick. Excuse me. More Mountain Dew. But the difference is one of these down here, this is using the built-in material design validation error template. And this one here is using a copy of the validation template with the key change being in the actual material design library. This is set to one time. But here they're set to one way. Now, the drawback here is setting it to one way causes a binding leak, which is why I had gone through and changed it, because I didn't want to leak bindings on every text box. That sounded bad. The problem being, as this user reported and is accurate, is that when their validation is updating, if they're going from an error state to another error state with more validation errors, this doesn't update automatically. So this is the current state of the library on the left. This is with the change with one way. The problem is the blind change to one way breaks, it ends up breaking the, or causes a binding leak, which I don't like. I'm curious if I can just do... Let's do this. Let's do this. I am curious. One. So that's interesting. So this thing bound to count. Does the count property not update? No. Read only observable collection of object foo You're telling me your count property doesn't notify a property changed. I notify a property changed. You intentionally implemented it. You have a collection changed event. Handle collection changed. You implemented I notify property changed. For what purpose? Handle property like what? Am I stupid here? So this guy wraps an observable collection and just forwards his property changes. Okay. Oh, I guess the count isn't actually changing. Right? The count doesn't change. The item in the collection is being swapped out. The 0th item is being reassigned. So functionally, under the hood, if foo were my actual thing, what it's doing is foo sub 0 gets, you know, new validation error. Right? It's doing roughly that, which causes it to replace the item. Which is why I get 2 collection changed events here, one for add, one for remove. Let's just confirm that real quick. I'm pretty sure that's what we saw before, but let's just confirm. When this guy goes through here, right? So two things. We're going to look at added and then the actual validation error being done, right? So it added, the length needs to be between 4 and 12. The next one, it added this new bit, which I think puts the it doesn't actually give me the original collection, but I would strongly suspect that the collection's length is 2. Actually, hang on, we can probably do this. I can probably do this real quick. Just go immediate window, count. Yeah, so currently there are 2 items in the list. You know what? Let's show external code. Controls validation. Let's just go decompile source. It's probably going to get me close enough. Close enough. On add validation, and then a couple of these. This stack trace looks weird, and it's likely weird because of inlining, because some methods in the path will get dropped. But I believe what we saw is this. So it adds a validation error there. Okay, great. And then you'll note it removes the first one. So I guess it's not an assigned 0. It's an add and then a remove. Okay, if we go back here. So this guy here is the one doing it. So he comes in here. He has a list of errors. He goes through and adds the needed ones. Right? Add validation error. He goes through and removes them. And if the errors goes to 0, notifies collection and cleared. This is perfect. Let's mark this. Bookmark. Okay. That all makes sense. That explains how we get the 3 raised events. And then nothing changes after that. Nothing changes after that. So get validation delta. So this guy here figures out the 2 add to 2 remove. does the needed for all of the add ones. It dumps in. So technically that other, when we were bound to count, this count probably should have gone to 2, albeit very briefly. I am curious to try something. So I've got a theory that this is public class testing converter. Value converter. Yeah. Sudo make me a value converter. Boom, go. Return value. Return value. This is almost a worthless value converter, except it allows you to put breakpoints in the middle of a binding, which is what we want. I am curious if I were to do, let's see. Test converter. Test converter. Do I have local already installed? I don't. So XMLNS local gets air templating. Yeah, I think that's where I put it. Local. Just make sure that's actually where I put it. No, I put it in views. Of course not. So views, boom. That should compile now. What did I call it? What did I call you? Testing converter. Okay. Boom. Boom. Compile. Good. Now what I should be able to do is go with converter static resource. Boom. Now I want to confirm that I see that converter get hit. Okay, so added. There. Value 1. Makes sense? Good. Next. Converter value goes to 2. Converter value goes to 1. Okay, so it is actually going to 1. So it is actually raising. So the fundamental issue is that there is a stupid level thing in the middle that's kicking my butt. Now I can think of a hack, and I'm trying to decide if I do something better than the hack. So the hack is this. If you use a multi-binding, you can cause another binding to update if one of the child bindings under the multi-binding updates. I'm contemplating doing a multi-binding and having one of the child bindings be count, and then just completely disregarding that. That would totally work. 99% positive it would work. But is there a cleaner way to go about doing this? Because effectively what I'm saying is when the collection changes, I want this thing to do something different. I want you to do something different. I want you to reevaluate yourself. Because I apparently can't bind directly to this. And I know in the past we've had people request that we update the template to support multiple errors. Because right now you'll note that the code is just shoving all of the error messages into a single string and not supporting multiple validation errors. I am curious. I would like to look at the built-in WPF template. That's what I would like to look at. What is it doing? Setter property validation error template. That's not. I don't know where in this library they store their default templates. Let's see if we can find them real quick, because that is not obvious to me, but I think it'll be somewhere around here. Yeah, that's the problem, is I don't actually know where they're at. Let's do a quick search for just straight up validation. Trying to think of what they would call it. Let's see, code. If we hunt XML code, does that get me down to XAML files? It does. I don't see it. There's only 3 pages, so we're just gonna look. Those are the classes. There's all of that. That's not useful. That's not useful. That's not useful. So jump back. I should really explore this repository at some point. You don't have XAML as a language, do you? Yeah, I didn't think you did. Filtering by language isn't going to get me where I want to be. Just do that. Do that for the moment. Let's see. Where is the really hoping to see where it set this stuff up. Okay, we're gonna just go back to here. Nope, too far. Too far. I want to just go back to the repository. How do I get me out of the... Just want to go back to the root of the repository there. Get me back. Okay, so if we go here and we just kind of take a quick gander. Resources, system, Windows. I'm looking for like arrow or something. I'm just curious if there is a themes. There we go. Like arrow to themes. There's no way that's it. There's no way that contains everything. Oh, that scroll bar is big enough that it's possible. Okay, so template. I'm curious how what they end up binding their stuff to. That's not useful. That's not useful. That is not useful. Also not useful. Not useful. Not useful. Not useful. Not useful. Let me hunt the repo for validation error template. That might give me a little more. See, here's the problem. I know you contain more than that. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna nope, 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 nope. We're gonna do something that I probably am about to regret, and I'm going to clone the bloody repo. Yep, yep. I'm probably about to regret this. Clone repo. Clone. Give that a minute. Does the order in which the XAML properties are defined matter? Will they run from top to bottom as written? So most of the time, it will not matter. They will be evaluated in the order they are written. So I've seen it bite people where they make assumptions on how, like with attached properties, they assume that the attached property is like set first or last, and that can certainly cause problems. But in general, the order shouldn't matter if things are done correctly. And at least the built-in stuff, I'm not aware of any case where ordering is problematic. Usually the ordering problem comes with people's custom attached properties. That's generally where it bites you. Okay, see, GitHub, this is the difference between your search and mine. Mine found results. Yours found nada. Data grid row. So we're just going to collapse these up. Data grid row, classic. I'm wondering if I'm hunting the wrong thing, because I'm just noticing where all of these are. Let's try. That is only ever set to null. That just can't be right. So if I go here, like if I hunt text box, right? Like this guy here. Right, this shouldn't. That's a data picker text box. Great. Template. List box, text box base. Right, so this guy here has a template. I'm just looking for how, like this is the built-in one, but how do they get their validation set on here? I was expecting to see a, because you're based on nothing. Do you have a trigger or something weird? Like there's nothing there. Like what? Huh? Which text box? Themes classic. Like this should have all the stuff in it. Bum. But where? Huh? Like this is where it's just clearly not set any, which is not correct. Which is definitely not correct. XAML. There we go. text box, show me some validation, please. None. Wow. Okay. Where the heck is this? WPF validation default template. I just want to show, because I'm wondering if the binding to current is really what we want. What? Maybe we hunt validation dot. I'm really feeling like I'm missing out on something here. Really feel like I'm missing out on something. Okay. Bum 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 bum. Validation, market valid. Tree Walker, da da da. There's all those same validation ones from before. Where the heck? It really does. Grumble, 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 grumble. Let's see. These are just people showing how to do custom air templates. I got that. I get that. I mean, it bothers me that none of these are actually like showing the binding error. Yeah. Yes. Relative source, binding validation errors. Wait, what? So the parentheses in the path for the binding is an attached property. I'm just confused as to what this slash is. Am I about to learn something new about binding syntax? What the heck does this? You have binding path syntax. Okay, educate me. I normally know this stuff fairly well, and I would have said that I thought that I knew this pretty well. Okay. To bind to an attached property. Yeah. Put parentheses around the property. The indexer of a property can be specified with square brackets. Yep. Knew that. When the source is a collection view, the current item can be specified with a slash. For example, path for... I just learned something new. What? So what that's okay, hold on. We gotta test this because I feel like I just have my world shattered there for a moment. So this was no way. Right? I just not that we're using the second one. No. I don't know if I've ever come across that syntax before. Okay, disable breakpoint. Works flawlessly. Works flawlessly. Yeah, and then you can daisy chain stuff together. Okay, so okay. So there is a collection view there. And the collection view's current item isn't causing the binding to update. Boy, I am learning so much. Okay, so let's try the multi-value converter approach for the moment. Right? So what would be really nice is if we could go up here and go data context binding right? So we're going to go one time. And actually, I might go a step further. Go here. Actually, I don't think you want it there because I think that'll propagate into here. I don't think that's what you want. But that does mean that I want to go here. Go here. I'm still flabbergasted that I learned a completely new binding syntax. Here I thought I knew WPF. And I don't even know how to write bindings. Wait. This just worked. Okay, so hold on. Those modes are both set to one time. This should put me right back into the failure case. Because now the overloaded template, one time, this is misleading. This is no longer, they're both one time. So the solution is that. Oh my word. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Wow. I am a little shocked. I've learned something new on WPF. Let's go fix it. That was possibly, sorry, Nikolai, if you're watching, I am aware of your PR for the floating hint. I did not expect this rabbit trail to take so long. But I just learned new WPF, so I'm kind of excited. Okay, so let's go here. I want to be on latest, so jump me up here. The process cannot access. Yeah. Sorry, I opened Visual Studio too quick. Jump me here. Thank you. Now Visual Studio, go do your thing. Ba-ba. I think I just hit minimize all. Okay, so that was a metric pain in the butt. Okay, let's start here. Do we have any sort of validation? I don't think we do. We should write a little validation. We should write a little a little bit of logic here. So what is the easiest way for me to go through and do this? I think a user control with a text box. I'm just trying to think of how much setup I want to do. What does description attributes on test do that comments don't? Absolutely nothing. The only reason I've used description attributes here, because attributes don't do anything by themselves, except for it does maintain source code formatting nicely. So literally absolutely nothing. I just found them to be an easy way of making sure that this information always stays attached to this. I don't know a proper way to write this test, but I think what we need to do is we need to make a new thing here, validation, add user control. Let's go with validation updates. Sure. Let's go there. Okay, so I want to look at what the, so I want that line there. Actually, I guess I don't care that much. So we're going to do something with a stack panel. No, actually, let's do a grid because I kind of want to have some space between these things. So grid, row definitions. We're going to do row definition, and we're going to just split it 50-50. Boom, bada, boom, boom, boom. Okay. We're going to do a text box up on top. And then we're going to do a button content validate. All right, and you're going to go with grid row 1, vertical alignment center. Sure, good enough. Vertical alignment center, good enough. Okay, so there's a little bit of something there. I need this guy with some sort of view model behind the scenes. Clean that up. Clean that up. Clean that up. Okay. Public class validation updates view model. Let's see. I'm gonna need an I. Notify data error. I need to implement the interface. And then I'm going to need, do I have, yes, yes, yes. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let me go look because the MVVM toolkit does have a, they do have validation bits, and I don't remember what they are. Observable objects, observable validator. That's the guy. Wait, I don't have to think too hard because I'm a little too lazy for that. Okay, because observable validator implements the interface and all of that dies. Excellent, excellent. Let's see. private string text, right? And then we go with observable property, and then we make you partial, and bippity boppity booyah, and we'll make you nullable so that you stop whining. And then I don't remember the magical syntax here. What do you have that I override to do the validation? Let's see. Validate property. Validate, try validate property. So I could actually poach a lot of the same stuff off of the other project for doing this. So let's go back here. Because I don't need any of this. What I do need is this. So we're gonna come here, and we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go with let's see, property. Abuse that nice new feature. And then what else is in the component model? All right, so system component model, data annotations. We can just do required, I guess, because that will, because then we can trigger both of these. All right, so and then we're gonna do with private void pods errors, relay command. We're gonna do something like text gets foo text gets empty string. So that should trigger the validation because this guarantees a change. This sets it back. Violating both of these, they should both trigger validation errors. Those should both populate. The one thing that's missing from this is, do you have a override? I don't remember. This one was doing a weird thing where it was concatenating the errors on get errors. So I kind of want to look at what you do for your get errors. Errors, select many, validation results. So you're going to end up doing that, which is probably okay. See what it does. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. Data context gets new validation updates view model. That little doohickey cause errors command. Let's see, command binding cause errors command, and then I want you to be text binding text notify on validation error true, date source trigger property change. Okay, so we'll do all the same thingies. Okay. Show. Now we come down to text boxes. Go here, collapse them all because I don't want to look at them all. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to go fact. I'm going to go description, issue. Okay, seriously, I have no idea if that's right, but if it is, Copilot, you're getting a cookie. Let's go actually look at what the error is, because I got a little distracted. 3176. I mean, it got the AI guessing got 2 out of 4 digits right. It can't be that bad. Validation error template with changing errors, updates, validation. Okay, so here we do grab the reporter. We want screenshots if they fail. We go await load user control. We set it to validation updates. Boom. Visual element user control. Yep. Booyah. And then from here, I'm just gonna break for the moment, I think. Because I just want to test it and make sure that it actually does in fact work the way I want. We want to turn off Visual Studio debugging attachments. I don't care about you. I care about you. Care about you. Don't care about you. Okay, and then we come down here and we go debug. So I don't recall if this actually works or not. Issue links are better than the text in the description attribute. Probably just putting them in there. Only because Visual Studio, I guess, would format the URL that people could click on versus having to go and look them up. It's probably a reason to change. Though I wonder, is this just as good? I really like the description attribute formatting. It makes me happy because everything always lines up nicely. Okay, so if I click here, that didn't give me any validation, which doesn't fill me with too many warm fuzzies. Okay, let me just make sure this is all working appropriately before I get too carried away. Debug test. Because the okay, so something's not set up and working properly. The best part, we can snoop it. What did I do wrong? Let's see. Text box, data context. Text is bound there. Properties. Text. Binding path. Oh, because I bound it to the path of test, not text. See? Solution 1, don't be an idiot. And I probably should have set it up with the design time data context so that I get IntelliSense in there and yada, 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 yada. That would have been better. That would have saved me a mild amount of pain and suffering. Rebuild. There were build errors. Sorry, what? Couldn't copy. Oh, did Snoop cause the thing to not die properly? Yep, it left a stray process. Die. Okay. Try again. That is one of the weird things with XAML test is between the debugger attachments and Snoop, it is, even though it's got a built-in self-destruct, it does occasionally not self-destruct. Okay. If that goes there, I would have expected to see binding errors. Let's do this. Await task delay of infinite. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go here. We're going to allow Visual Studio debug attach true so that I can debug my view model over here. Because I would have expected validation to trigger. There should be a... I'm looking for a virtual member that I can hijack. Clear errors, get errors. None of these are virtual. Validate all properties. Type not to be removed. Might just manually invoke this. Protected internal. What I really am looking to do is just trigger validation. So here's the fun part. This is in a view model. When I debug this, it's going to spin a separate WPF process and then attach my unit test debugger instance to that running process. Mwah. So now when I click this button, oh, aside from the fact that the window's topmost, so it did stop on my breakpoint. I apologize. The window's topmost though, so interesting. So it hit the breakpoint, it set it, but the validation isn't triggering. Why is the validation not triggering? What? Validation has errors. Has error is false. Is this thing not... huh? Did this thing not generate the... see, Community Toolkit, MVVM, source generators. Oh, interesting. Did this thing not... No, the source generator had to have run. Right? It had to... This thing seems to imply that it didn't generate any sources here. But if it didn't generate any sources, where is this text property coming from? Yeah, it did generate. Okay, and it did put the data annotations property on top of it. Okay. When we do validate, that's a bunch of stuff. Let's see. Try validate property. Validate property, validation context, local errors. This should be falling back into here. This is the component model, get validation errors. So this should be pulling all the information. This is setting up. Validate the property by adding new errors to the local list. Yep. So you should have errors. Why you no validate? Um, why are you not validating? Is a very interesting question. Okay, fire this back up. It's curious to me why this is one of those cases where I don't, this view in Visual Studio for these analyzers does not seem to update appropriately for the source generators in all cases, and it's really frustrating to me. Right, so that goes in there. Okay. That triggers the validation error. I have no idea why this up here isn't doing it. Text field is required. If I do that, stop. Okay, so something's up with the validate all properties, and I'm too stupid to figure out what it is. But this is okay as long as I can put something that will trigger those validation errors in. Oh shoot, a breakpoint. Yeah, so there's 4 through 12. Okay. We do that. I just want to make sure that we see the bug occur. Right? Nope, that is not executing the test. So what I want to see is the error not properly update. Though this may not properly update because the get errors is going to be returning 2 separate instances rather than 1. Continue. Field is required. Yeah, so this is updating because it's triggering. Can I not override? I don't want to have to do my own data error info implementation. It'd be really great if I didn't have to do that. Because these are triggering 2 separate items into the thing. Right? Or are they going to always just override? So it gets the property list, error, add property errors. Oh, it's going to clear them and replace them. So this implementation is different from the other one. I almost feel, okay. We're going to just do this. We're going to do this, and that way I can implement I notify data error info. Let's see. Private string error. has errors is going to be error not equal to null. That's fine. Get errors if property name equals name of text. If error not equal to null. Come on, Copilot, you were so close. You had it a second ago. You know what to do here? Turn new error. There. We'll make this thing match. Return enumerable empty of string. That'll be fine. Okay. So this guy here, when we want to cause errors, we want to go error gets some error, right? And then we want to do errors changed, invoke, and we want to do error plus equals some error. We'll do plus more, right? And then we'll do this again. This should reproduce the bug. And then this garbage just goes away. Okay. So rather than fighting with figuring out how to get the thing to behave properly, I'm just going to make it behave like the example. Because unfortunately, the toolkit seems to prevent you from getting into this case. Because it's not just that the validation isn't helping, it's that you want to change the content of a singular validation message. Huh. That worked. Let's do this. I'm wondering if there needs to be a delay. Wait, task. Delay of, I don't know. We'll do the 1 second like what the other sample was. Like, I want to see this thing fail before I go through and actually... Like, I want to see this test in a failing state, and then we'll fix it with the /, because I'm fairly confident that's how we're going to fix it. Some error, and then it doesn't trigger. Okay. Okay, so there needs... Wow, so there's several things that all need to happen. Let's see, and I think we can get this pretty small. I think the key part is we just need the error... Oh, I need to quit doing that. I think we just need this to be long enough that a refresh pass or a layout pass happens. And XAML, all of these UI tests are set up to run synchronously. There's no parallelization of it. Because they have to do things like move the mouse and click on things, some tests could be parallel, but a lot of them can't. What is going on? Are you building? You look like you're building. So you're taking forever to build. Okay, because then we're going to need to go and actually grab the... Okay, so... What is going on? There we are. Validate. Some error. There. That's good enough. Okay. I don't know what this thing is doing down here. Oh, the test explorer has lost its mind. Okay, which probably means I've got a rogue process. Just validate that I don't have one. Nope, no rogue process. Okay. Okay, so to do a proper failing test, we want to get the text of that validation. Actually, the easiest thing to do might be to just grab the Snoop and go hunt it out. I don't need 2 Snoop instances, just one will do. Okay, so we are going to want to grab the text box, and then inside of the text box, default air viewer is kind of what we're going for. Okay, so let's go here. So we're going to do user control, stop it, get element. Come on, don't everybody move at once. Get, stop it, out of my way. Thank you. Get element, text box. Yep, that's what we want. Our text box gets await. Okay. And then we want to do text box, get element, and it's going to be default. Oh, I already forgot the name of the bloody thing. We can go here, we can go here, and then we can come into validation. Because what we are actually after is this default air viewer. There's no easy way into that. Oh, nope, come back. We want to grab you. Var air viewer. This may not work. I don't know if it's going to find it or not. So let's catch it there. And then let's actually go var button gets await user control get element of type button. And we're going to do await button dot left click. Okay. We're going to grab it here and just verify that our test gets that far, which it should. Thinking. Oh shoot, I still have a breakpoint, don't I? Well, I do have a breakpoint, but it's on the wrong thing. Or I might have to move this to the side so that I can. The default state for the windows is to be topmost, which is really obnoxious for debugging purposes, but really, really handy for, oh, thanks. Thanks, guys. Thanks. So that triggered a little too quickly. Did it find an air viewer? Oh, that is a waiting for activation. So we're going to need an await there. And then we're going to do await test delay of, I don't know. And we're going to dial that down. But for now, we're going to start it up high. Okay. Try this again. And this should fire up. And this should... I've moved my cursor to a different window so that it launches there instead. Okay, so it does show the air, and if we step... Okay, so it did grab it. Perfect. Perfect. And then I want to grab the text block inside of it. Var text block gets air viewer get element of text block. There is technically fancy syntax here that you can do, but I kind of like separating these. And then we want to do assert equal, right? So we want to just grab these guys, and from our UI test example, Samples, validation updates, some error plus more. We want to see all of this. Some error plus more should be equal to await text block get text. That only works if you await that. Okay. That goes like that. It goes like that. It goes like that. Okay. Test should go into a failing state because we should get an assert failure. And the failure should be it's equal to some error, not some error plus more. Assert equal failure. It's some error, not some error plus more. Perfect. Now we go to the code. This test-driven development. Okay, we come here and we exploit our newfound friend, the /. We question everything we think we know about WPF bindings and life. We rerun the test. And we think for a moment. Test goes green. Hallelujah. There's the bug. There's the fix. There's the UI test to back it up. Test went red and green. I think we can probably dial this down a lot more. Let's just make sure. Because really, we just need to make sure that a layout pass happens. And actually, we can go even better. We can do a... Oh, wait for... You can do this. Drop this. Make this async. So this will now, the default wait tries for I forget how long, up to a second or something. So, but this way it'll be a little more, it'll go as fast as possible, but if it fails, it'll do a couple retries to make sure, and then it goes. So that's a little cleaner. Okay. We're gonna create a branch, create branch, fixing validation. Let's just double check our work. There's that. There's that. It's all good. We go here. We go here. We go here. We go here. And we learned something very new. / is awesome. When you have a collection view. Fixing issue with validation templates not let's see, validation template not updating when current error changes. Let's see, and fixes, and we grab the that one. Booyah. Okay, push. And Kraken, what are you doing to me? Push and start pull request. Is something waiting for the push? Why is push going slow? Kraken. I'm going to kill you. Let's try this again real quick. The lovely Kraken failed me. Okay. Push. Oh, were you expecting? We can push there. I don't care. Really doesn't matter. And then open pull request. There we go. Create pull request. That's how long it's supposed to take, like instant. And then we go here. We go there. We slap this sucker in the milestone. And we label this guy as a bug fix. And we enable auto merge. We confirm auto merge. And then we come over here to the bug. And we go, thank you so much for the repo. Was very helpful in tracking down the solution. And most of my live stream. Shameless self-promotion. That's important. Let's see. Which dev tracking down the issue and doing the fix if you are interested in the details. Boom. Commit. And then we're going to put this guy in the milestone. And away we go. Okay, that was a lot of work, and I still owe Nikolai a PR review for the Smart Hint refactoring. So, I will be needing to do that tomorrow. I apologize, Nikolai. I had intended to do it tonight. It was on my list, and I didn't quite get there, and my stream has now gone really long. But this was fun. I learned something new. So, thank you everyone for coming and hanging out. Again, if you haven't, register for Build Conference. It is like Christmas to me. I love seeing all the cool new stuff and playing with things and announcements, and yeah, it'll be great. Oh, thank you, Nikolai. Did you know about the / for the binding path? I don't know if I've known about that. I just, if anybody cares, here's the docs. I'm shocked. I did not know that / was a thing. And I don't know if I've ever used it before. So, learn something new. Unit test proves the fix. So, huzzah for that. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one of those esoteric things that when you need it, it's awesome, and when it's not working, it's a pain to figure out. On the note of tests, I have conned one of my colleagues into doing a talk with me on testing. It's going to be less on, well, I should say, I know what it's going to be about. We have to figure out the exact itinerary, but the idea is it's going to be more around the philosophy and the why of testing, rather than the exact how. I ran into some issues where I kept fighting with people who had the wrong mentality about how to approach testing to do it well. Like even on this issue here, you'll note the default setting was let's write a test first, and then we'll go through and actually do the fix. And once, the test went red, green, I had a high degree of confidence that, yeah, everything's great. We're good to go. So a lot of it, in my opinion, is getting that mentality figured out correct. So updates will probably come. I think, let me check. I don't know this for a fact. It will probably get posted here, but let me just check and see and make sure this is where the past ones actually showed up. Hold that thought. Yes, Nikolai, no problem. That was part of why I was hoping to do it tonight, is I wanted to be able to spend time and go through it, because it is kind of, it's one of the foundational pieces of the library. I think Smart Hint and Ripple are probably the biggest impact things. Okay, past events. So I think this may have been the last one. It will probably get posted here. So if anybody is interested in catching it, or I will, whenever it gets posted, it will show up on my Twitters or similar. So if a talk on testing sounds interesting, that will be forthcoming. Part of it is I would hope that people come with pushback or feedback on how and why they prefer to not write tests, because there's certainly cases where not writing tests might be okay, but it's good to have that discussion. I'd rather wrestle with that with people rather than it just being a straight up Kevin and Artem talk the whole time. So that doesn't sound as fun, but have it be a discussion. So again, if people have any interest in that, either the meetup link or my Twitters, and hopefully a link will be appearing. I think it's going to be in about 2-ish weeks. I think maybe the 16th. We usually do them around lunchtime Pacific Standard Time. So translate that into your time zone of choice. But with that, I'll tell everybody happy coding. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see everyone next time.